These are my 10 money hacks to retire in less than 10 years. So most people think that retirement takes like 30, 40 years of just grinding at a job you secretly hate, or praying that Wall Street doesn't tank your 401k, finally ready to like do your about Schmidt, get in an RV and drive across the beautiful expanse of America to bother your in-laws and relatives. And I see the haters of my comments all the time saying you're not old enough to retire, you can't be retired if you're a YouTuber making videos, you can't retire in Vietnam, like blah, 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 blah. Well, it's in there, it's done. I'm doing it. I'm retired in Vietnam at 40. So today I'm here to tell you how to say no to all the haters and basically to cut your retirement time in half. Hell, you can even cut it in a third. I retired in under 10 years and I started with basically nothing, no cash savings when I was back home. Except, and this is a huge but here, except I was flexible, meaning I was not risk averse and I wasn't afraid to change my plans along the way. And once I set my mind on the goal, I was an absolute dog about getting it done, sticking to it, and being persistent. But other than that, like I did nothing special. I had no special skills. I was totally unexceptional and like any other working class guy. I've always been a school teacher or a civil servant. I've never made more than 6 figures in a year. I've never made more than the median salary. I just have a knack for killing expenses, basically. And you can call me cheap or a minimalist or frugal or whatever. Honestly, I don't give a shit. As long as I'm stacking my cash and not spending like a drunk sailor, it doesn't really matter what people call me. So today I'm giving you my 10 money hacks to retire in less than 10 years, which I've actually used in my life to do this. So we're counting down from 10 to 1 and stick around to the end because I'm going to show you a shortcut that's basically going to put this whole thing in fast forward like one big red nuclear button right at the end. Okay, 10. You got to kill the car. Cars are just killing Americans cost-wise. Your car isn't your freedom. It's like an absolute financial vampire. It's draining you every single month between payments, insurance, gas, repairs, parking, and depreciation. Most people are out like $700 to $1,000 a month just to keep a hunk of metal, fresh paint in the driveway. I mean, this is, if you ask me, is just insane. If you're driving to work every day for a decade, you've literally torched like 100 grand. You do it for 20 years, 25 years, conservatively, that's like 100 to $250,000 range. Like you could have thrown it into index funds, ETFs, or even just used it to buy back your time. And honestly, if you're walking, you're probably gonna be healthier. When I lived in Bangkok, I didn't need a car. A motorbike taxi would zip across the city for $1, or the BTS and Skytrain for literally like pennies. In Prague, the tram system is so efficient that locals laugh at the idea of paying $40,000 or $80,000 for a car just to sit in bumper-to-bumper traffic. In Mexico City, there's Ubers, there's cheap buses, you can ride the daily train and you still come out ahead compared to owning even something as cheap as like a Toyota Prius back home. And I know you're gonna say, yeah, blah, 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 but it's easy for you because you live in those special walkable foreign cities. They're built for digital nomads and Eurotrash and flaneurs. But you'd change your tune if you actually lived at home, blah, 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 blah. Evan, I live somewhere where you need a massive gas guzzling SUV Land Rover just to survive, yada, yada. Great, fine. But then you're not gonna be able to cut back on your consumption costs, and you're not going to be able to save cash and retire in under 10 years. If you're unwilling to change your bad habits, fine, adios, the video is not for you. But here's a fact. I lived in Calgary, Alberta, a completely suburban city from 2015 to 2017. It's like the least walkable, most car-friendly commuter suburb in Canada, definitely north of Phoenix. And guess what? I didn't own a car. I took public transit, I rode my bicycle, I literally ran home from work when the weather was nice, and I made sure that I lived in a condo that was actually along the Bow River where you could do walkable restaurants, cafes, and grocery stores when I wasn't commuting to work. I mean, it's just a choice you make in your life. Kill the car, or at least kill one if you're a 2-car household. It is one of the fastest ways to drop your monthly burn rate overnight, and it comes with a bonus because when you ditch your car payments, you also get to cut the cord on auto insurance and on sitting around. So it's legit 2 or 3 for 1. Smell you later, Geico. You don't have to worry about it anymore. Next up, you've heard this one before, but it's true. Slaughter your subscriptions. Number 9. Let's be honest. Half your subscriptions are total zombie charges you forget about. You know, whether it's Netflix, Hulu, Disney, Apple Music, that meditation app you used once in 2019 when you thought you'd get centered during lockdown or whatever. Honestly, this is one area where I could still improve myself. I just get hit with the bills every month and don't even know where they're coming from. I get that ding on my phone, I see the payment, and I had no idea who I was sending 30 bucks or 40 bucks to. For me, it's often like Skillshare, Masterclass, or some design software like Canva. I know plenty of guys who haven't paid a penny for streaming in years. They get everything from BitTorrent or Pirate Bay, whether they're watching Breaking Bad or Friends or whatever, and it's like less than the price of a Starbucks. It's extreme, and yeah, it's illegal in most countries, and I'm not condoning it, but the point stands. Most of what you're paying for, you don't actually need to be paying for. And the best way to ditch these services is to list out everything you're paying for every single month, then rank order them. Not in cost, not from most expensive to cheapest, but from most valuable to most useless. Cut 80%. Keep one or two that are indispensable and improve your life, or better yet, get creative by moving abroad or using a country, and you can log in using a VPN and basically pay for these services. They charge wildly different amounts in different places. So in Vietnam, cable packages with 100 channels might cost you a few bucks. You know, and you can watch Premier League football, F1 races, NBA, etc. So, I mean, you can literally like pick the place you're signing in from with a VPN and save money. And you just don't need 5 platforms telling you the same bad television shows, the same crappy movies. You know, you need your money compounding and gathering interest month by month, which leads us to number 8, cut the cable. Ditch the cord. These things are old school. Speaking of television, if you're paying for cable in 2025, you're basically just like renting nostalgia, or you're a total dinosaur. The average US cable bill is 120 to 150 bucks a month. That's just insane. $5 a day for absolute crap. All this stuff literally keeps you unhealthy too. So you stretch that over 10 years and you've torched somewhere between like $14,000 and $18,000 just to watch a crap ton of corporate commercials. I mean, seriously, what can't you just find on the internet? You know, whether it's Friends or ESPN or whatever, like who needs to watch more cornhole tournaments at 2 a.m.? If you want to go see the big game, get out of your house, go to a bar, see it with a friend. If you still have cable in 2025, it's not just your wallet that's bleeding out. It's like literally soul sucking. Cable TV is like an IV drip of commercials, pharmaceutical jingles, and like reruns you don't even need. You're just watching it because you want to. You're watching it because it's there. It's passive, it's background noise while your life ticks away. And worst of all, it's often divisive, bullshit, angry news. I used to think keeping up with the news cycle made me informed. Really, I just sit on my couch, scrolling through channels, watching people yell, get angrier and angrier. They're yelling about things that I couldn't control, and the hours slipped away. And like, honestly, blue, red, I could care less. The crazy part was I was paying to watch people scream at each other and literally drain me of my energy and soul. This is insanity. If you watch the news, just turn on Twitch or YouTube and find someone who's actually funny or entertaining, talking about what's going on in the world without being like double banged with all the ads on top of it, without the suits, without the corporate yada yada. You know, you just find someone who speaks to you. Anyway, so here's the move. You cancel it, get rid of the cable, you cut the cord, you take that 150 bucks a month, and instead of sending it to Comcast so you can scroll past 400 channels of garbage, put it towards something that actually makes your life bigger, better, broader. That's $18,000 a decade. That could be paying for flights to Asia, it could be paying for years of rent by the beach, or a lifetime of adventures you'll actually remember. It really is that simple. Kill your television, literally unplug it, sell it, give it to your nephew for his dorm room, turn it into an aquarium, replace the screen time with something that actually feeds you, walking by the ocean, learning a new language, starting your own YouTube channel, talking to a real human being in a cafe. You'll be shocked how much mental space you can actually reacquire and return to when you're paying attention to something that isn't intentionally frying your brain. It used to be called the boob tube. I don't know if that's PC anymore. Number 7, downsize your roof. I live in a pretty nice house, no lies. Costs 520 bucks a month. Housing is the monster expense in the United States. Forget avocado toast memes. Your mortgage or rent is what's keeping you broke and stopping you from retiring early. In America, people are obsessed with square footage. 2,000 square feet, a 2-car garage, a basement full of junk you'll never use. The house becomes the dream. It also becomes the trap. It's the investment. It's the retirement plan. But here's the brutal truth. Your house isn't a retirement strategy. Housing equity is not retirement savings. It's a liability with granite countertops. Even shaving $800 a month off housing is almost $100,000 in 10 years. And that's before investing and compounding interest or collecting dividend payments in stocks and ETFs. Let's talk numbers. The average US home price shot up during the pandemic, right? It's just an asset class. Then it started wobbling as interest rates hit the highest point in 2 decades. And according to the New York Post, US household debt has just passed $18 trillion. And a huge chunk of that is tied up in overpriced homes. In places like Florida, insurance premiums have doubled or tripled since 2020. That's just 5 years. And nearly 1 in 7 home sale contracts fell through earlier this year because buyers and lenders are getting absolutely spooked about these inflated values starting to drop. Imagine you're working your whole life thinking your $700,000 suburban box is your nest egg, it's your retirement plan, only to watch it slide to 640, to 600, to 550. I mean, really, you could also just get slammed by a hurricane and lose it to an insurance company that ghosts you when you need them most. Meanwhile, I've met American friends in Thailand and Vietnam who sold their property at the peak, took their equity off the table, and now live mortgage-free and debt-free in oceanside condos. They rent a place for $400, $500, $600 a month in Jomtien, and Da Nang, and Hua Hin. They eat $2 noodles or drink, $1 beers. And their social security check or modest savings stretches like it never could back in the United States. Some of these people are young. They're in their 30s, they're in their 40s like me, in their 50s. These aren't all 70-year-olds. The idea that your McMansion is your retirement plan, that's sort of like the great American mirage. Don't cling to the house as it sinks in value while your expenses keep rising. Downsizing, renting out a basement, or cashing out while you can might buy you a decade of freedom, retiring, and living abroad. Equity isn't security if it's locked in drywall. Freedom is cash flow, it's flexibility, and it's the ability to live well on less and still be happy, content, and healthy. Your roof doesn't need to be bigger than your retirement account. Number 6, if you're still living back in the West, you got to start cooking at home. DoorDash is not a personality, it's a retirement killer. The average family spends $300 to $600 a month on takeout and delivery. That's a whole mortgage or apartment in some countries. Heck, it would literally pay my rent right now on this 3-bedroom, 2-bath house in Da Nang, Vietnam, which is less than 10 minutes from the ocean front. When I lived in Mexico, tacos al pastor, $1.50 for a full plate of 3. And, here in Vietnam, there's dozens of different kinds of hearty, healthy noodles you can eat every day for $2 or $3. If I don't want to splurge, I could go to a Western bar and for $10 get a full meal with 2 sides, a pint of beer, ribs, buffalo wings, whatever. And you can still spend realistically $20 to $40 on a meal when you're living in Southeast Asia. But that becomes your splurgy, fancy date night, you had a steak and drank red wine for $20 or $40. Whereas back home, that $20 gets you nothing, like a Chipotle burrito bowl and a pop or something gross. If you're seriously stuck though, learn to cook, portion 3 solid healthy meals a day, rotate them, get boring. Retirement on a beach in Southeast Asia is sexy. Uber Eats and overeating is not. Eating at the cafeteria at my work for years, unsexy, incredible money savings. Number 5. Refinance or relocate your debt. Debt is absolute doomsday. It's killing Americans slowly. You're not building wealth playing 20% APR on a Visa card. You're building the bank, CEOs, and execs retirement funds. The hack, just nuke it earlier. Transfer balances to a 0 APR, refinance your mortgage, renegotiate loans, or get radical and relocate while you reconsolidate. I met a Canadian couple who sold their Toronto condo, which they had a huge mortgage on, paid it off, kept the remainder, moved to Poland, and went debt-free overnight. Now they pay $800 a month for rent in Krakow and spend their weekends eating pierogies, drinking $2 beers, and just walking around a beautiful old town. Meanwhile, their old neighbors are still stressing over interest rates, where the variable's going, what the Fed's going to say next month. Every dollar not going to the bank is a dollar buying back your freedom. Number 4. If and when you do start traveling, travel smart. So vacations just don't need to cost $5,000. You don't need to give $10,000 to the Disney Corp. That is a Western lie. The first time I came to Southeast Asia in 2011, I spent 6 weeks here and it was all in like under $1,500, including flights from Australia, less than what I would spend on a week vacationing in somewhere like Florida. You can get heat stroke at Disney and $14 churros, or you can choose Halong Bay cruises, $10 massages, and $1 beers with incredible beaches. The choice is yours. The biggest myth I hear on YouTube is that travel has to be expensive and that travel YouTubers must be rich to travel the world full time. There's so many people out there doing slow travel on a budget and living well as digital nomads in 2025. Rolf Potts literally wrote the book on how to do this, Vagabonding, over 2 decades ago in 2002. And plenty of bloggers like Tim Ferriss and now hundreds of YouTubers like Kara and Nate or Lisa and Josh have picked up on this trend and have been preaching the gospel of slow travel and vagabonding and all kinds of cheap travel hacks for years. You use your credit card points and miles, you travel in the off season. A $200 Ryanair ticket to Lisbon in November can change your whole outlook on life. Last week when I was looking, I literally found a flight from Saigon to Paris direct in March for $350. Retirement isn't someday if you stop vacationing like a Kardashian, a dummy, or wasting your money at Disney. 3, you gotta stop paying the brand tax. Luxury brands are just a flex that nobody abroad or really anyone in real life cares about anymore. Gucci belts, Rolex watches, Lululemon leggings, congratulations. You've told the world you're broke and you're trying too hard, or you're a 1%er who has nothing better to do. Keep on keeping up with the Joneses. It's just a waste of time. There's no point. It doesn't make you special. In Thailand, the richest guys at the bar wear flip-flops, drink Chang beer, and if they have a shirt, it's a tank top. In Vietnam, I buy these $8 locally tailored shirts that fit better than any $100 button down back in Canada. And in Hanoi, the most stylish guy I ever met was a retiree wearing a threadbare linen shirt. He bought at a market for $5 and literally just wore every single day over a different $1 white t-shirt. Don't have to be fancy, it just has to work. Nobody cares about your logo. They care about your vibe, and all that you should care about if you want to retire when you can still walk and talk and have fun is your savings rate. All these tips are about getting that burn rate down ASAP. Is a big one too. Number 2, cut the booze and the vices. This one hurts, I know. I like drinking, I like going out. But if you want to retire in 10 years, you can't be dropping $200 every Friday night on splurgy cocktails downtown. No more bottles of Dom or K-Mist to celebrate the big quarterly wins and sales at work. No more trying the best new Michelin-starred restaurants in town every single date night and every single time a new one opens up. 2 cocktails in Toronto or Melbourne easily cost me $50. 2 cocktails in Krakow, $6. In Hanoi or Saigon, $5. If you get a Bia Hoy, a fresh draft beer, 50 cents. I'm not saying quit entirely. Trust me, my wife would laugh in my face if she thought I was preaching to be a teetotaler on YouTube. But I'm saying quit drinking in places where the bar tab could be a mortgage payment. This is a great way to cut costs. Same goes for sugary crap from Starbucks. You're spending $6 on a venti coffee, if you're wasting $20 vaping or still buying cigs. We're not even going to talk about pharmaceutical drugs or black market stuff, which will absolutely destroy your savings, not to mention your life. Seriously though, cut your vices and get help if you have an addiction, and you'll save hundreds, if not thousands of dollars a month. I used to drink a lot when I was at home. I smoked on and off for years. It's just literally killing you and your wallet. You'll actually live long enough to enjoy a retirement if you get rid of that shit. The truth is that living like a baller can only get you so far in life. And the harsh reality is that almost half of pro athletes in the NBA and NFL face serious financial hardship or bankruptcy within 12 years of retirement. The moral of the story? Don't make it rain. Don't be a baller. It's a stupid plan. You're going to run out of money wasting it at strip clubs in Hotlanta or H-Town or wherever it is you go. Oh my God, if you're still here, thanks so much. Subscribe, like button, all that crap before we get to number 1. The ultimate cheat code is geo-arbitrage, folks. Here it is, the nuclear option, the one way you can actually go all in right now and afford to retire in 10 years. This is the reason I retired in less than a decade. I'd still be working for 10 to 15 years if I was at home. So what is geo-arbitrage? If you can work remotely or already have income, move somewhere cheaper. Vietnam, Thailand, even Mexico, Eastern Europe. Oh my God, there's so many beautiful countries. You slash your spending and your monthly burn rate goes down by 50 to 70% overnight. This isn't rocket science. If you earn in US dollars and your income is 5 times the local GDP, your cost of living will go down and your quality of life will skyrocket along with your net worth and saving. Tim Ferriss laid out this entire game plan in the 4-Hour Work Week 20 years ago, but new tech and AI has actually made it easier than ever for Americans to live abroad. It is so much easier to do this now than it was 20 years ago. When I first got here, I paid $400 a month for a marble-floored 2-bedroom apartment in Saigon with a rooftop pool and a gym and every amenity you can imagine. In Da Nang, we rent this whole house by the beach for $520. I mean, even like an old teacher buddy recently told me he moved to Tashkent, Uzbekistan, and he's living in a refurbished Soviet-era apartment, but it came with his contract, so he literally spends $0 on housing. Sure, maybe it feels like living in a time machine, but for the next 3 to 5 years, his savings rate is going to be astronomical. And there's actually tens of thousands of people making moves like these. More and more Americans, Canadians, Brits, and Aussies are actually relocating to places like Colombia, Argentina, Croatia, Albania, Bulgaria, Thailand, Vietnam, even Cambodia. You know, these places used to be off the radar in the analog era, and now they're absolutely trending online for affordable cost of living, new visa options, and great, beautiful lifestyles. Let me give you the math straight up. In the US, $60K a year feels like barely surviving. I was living a blue-collar basic life on $75K a year 10 years ago in Calgary. After housing, bills, car payments, and healthcare, poof, gone every month. But in Vietnam, even $36,000 a year or $3,000 a month against maybe $1,000 to $1,200 expenses, that's affordable luxury with $2,000 a month in savings. Massive. And that's a real dream and a goal of early retirement that should fuel you to work even harder to actually go remote and find a way to get a decent job you can do online. You know, in a place like Poland or Bulgaria, you can live in a Gothic old town apartment, drink $2 craft beers, and pay way less rent than in any US city. You know, in Mexico, you're eating tacos every day, you're living by a beach or in a beautiful colonial town, and just like laughing at the idea of paying thousands and thousands of dollars in property tax every year. You can do this on the same or less income. Only difference, geography. That's the cheat code and the absolute best money hack to retire in under 10 years right now in 2025. So here's the big takeaway. If you're serious or just curious about pulling that big lever and actually moving abroad, right now you can watch my Move to Vietnam Masterclass. It's a 1-hour crash course where I show you exactly how to get started on the ground for your first 30 to 180 days in Vietnam. Everything from banking, dating, to healthcare, it's all in there. So even if you're just thinking about a new life in Vietnam or retiring early abroad, you can watch it right now by clicking the link in the description. And if you're not ready to make the move yet, that's fine. You just want to learn more about my life in Vietnam, you watch this video right here, or you can watch this video right here to find out about more options for retirement in Southeast Asia and abroad. Thanks so much, folks. I'm Evan.